Hello! In today's video, we're going to study the present perfect tense. How to create a positive sentence using the present perfect tense. First of all, we have the subject, then the verb to have in the present simple tense. The verb to have becomes has in the third singular person, namely he, she, or it. And then we have the past participle of the chosen verb. How do you make a past participle? Well, for regular verbs, you simply add ed to the base form of the verb. And when it comes to irregular verbs, you have to learn those verbs by heart. This corresponds to the third column of the list of irregular verbs. Let's see a few examples. I have finished my homework. I have been to the United States. Negative sentence. In order to create a negative sentence, you need a subject, the negative form of the verb to have, which is haven't and hasn't for the third singular person, and the past participle of the chosen verb. For example, I haven't finished it. I haven't been to the United States. How to ask a question. In order to ask a question, you have to use the verb to have, which is have or has for the third singular person, the subject, and the past participle of the chosen verb. Have you finished it? Have you been there? Short answers are yes, I have. No, I haven't. Now, how do you translate the present perfect tense into your language? For example, how would you translate I have worked? Well, in Italian you can use these two tenses, passato prossimo, ho lavorato, and presente indicativo, lavoro. In French, you would use these two tenses, passé composé, j'ai travaillé, and présent de l'indicatif, je travaille. So you really have to be very careful because ho lavorato and j'ai travaillé seem really like to I have worked. But this sentence can be translated also as lavoro or je travaille. So using a present. It really depends on the context. Let's see how to use the present perfect tense. Well, we use this tense to talk about situations that started in the past and still continue. For example, since 2009, I have lived here. Or, I have lived here for 11 years. This means that I live here and I moved here 11 years ago. So be really careful not to translate abito qui da 11 anni o dal 2009 as I live here from 2009. This is completely wrong. You really have to use the present perfect tense. A similar example is this one. I have worked in this company since 2015. Or, I have worked in this company for 5 years. This means I work in this company and I joined the company 5 years ago. Altogether, I have worked in this company since 2015 or for 5 years. You have to use the present perfect. Second example. We use the present perfect to talk about an action that has just finished or hasn't finished yet. For example, I have just sent you an email. I have already done it. I haven't finished my homework yet. Have you had lunch yet? There is a strong connection between the past and the present. So this action hasn't finished yet. So we thought it could be finished now, or this action has just finished. So it is a little bit in the air. The third case is when we talk about something that happened in the past and affects the present. Here again, there is a strong connection between the past and the present. I have repaired the car. Let's go to the supermarket. So I have just finished repairing the car. Now we can go to the supermarket. So my car is ready. I can use my car now. Or I have lost my keys. I am on my doormat. I have lost my keys. I can't get into my apartment now. So the fact that I have just lost my keys affects the present situation. Case number 4. We talk about experiences we have had in our life. For example, I'm asking, have you ever been to the United States? I'm curious to know if you have ever been to the United States. Or, I have never seen a kangaroo. When asking about first experiences, we can use this sentence, have you ever, and then the past participle, using the present perfect tense. And when we talk about this experience, we have to use the past simple tense. For example, have you ever been to the United States? Yes, I have. I went to New York in 2015. I bought a ticket. I asked my friends if they wanted to come with me. We visited the museums, we went, we bought, and so on and so forth. Because these facts I am telling you are related to a specific time in the past. And for this reason, I have to use the past simple. Case number 5. We talk about something that happened in the past without specifying when it happened. For example, this actor has won 3 Oscars. I have read this book 4 times. I have complained about this problem before. So these actions, these events refer to something that happened in the past, but I'm not specifying when it happened. Now, let's see when we use the past simple tense and when we use the present perfect tense. There are some adverbs, some phrases that really help us to know whether we have to use the present perfect tense or the past simple tense. We use the past simple in these cases. For example, last week, last month, last year. Example, last week. Then we have weeks, months, years ago. For example, 2 years ago. We have the preposition in and the month or the year. For example, in May or in 2005. we have the prepositions from and to. For example, from 2008 to 2018. We have the preposition at plus the time. For example, at 4:30 p.m. or at 4:30 p.m. We have on and the day of the week. For example, on Tuesday. And the adverb yesterday. So we can use the past simple tense when the question is when did it happen? Now, we use the present perfect tense with these adverbs, prepositions, or expressions. For and the period of time. For example, for 5 years. There is a little exception we will see later. We also use since and the starting point in time. So, for example, dates or days. For example, since the 1st of October 2020. So if you have any doubts about how to read dates or years, there is another video about that. We also have already, yet, just, ever, and never. Remember that we use ever when we ask a question and we use never in negative sentences. We also have adverbs such as recently or lately, and we have this phrase in the last months or years. For example, in the last 3 months. We also have this week, this month, this year, and the adverb today. The question we can ask is, how long have you been doing that, for example? Let's see now a couple of sentences and let's compare the use of the present perfect and the use of the past simple tenses. I said that we can use the preposition for with the present perfect tense when we talk about a period of time. For example, I have lived in Italy for 5 years. This means I have lived here since 2015. But we can also use the preposition for to talk about a duration, a period of time, with the past simple tense. In this case, we're talking about a finished period of time. For example, I lived in France for 10 years means I lived there from 2005 to 2015. I no longer live in France in the first example. I still live in Italy in the second example. Now, let's compare these two sentences. What did you do? And what have you done? Now, let's imagine that yesterday my children spent the whole day with their grandparents. I can ask them, what did you do with the grandmother yesterday? They would tell me, we went to the supermarket, we visited the zoo, we did, we made, and so on and so forth. They will tell me what they did the day before using the past simple tense. Now, let's imagine a different situation. I come back home and I find my children playing in the house. The house is very messy. They have chocolate all over their faces. There are cereals on the floor. And I say, what have you done? What happened? Because there are tangible signs that something was going on, and this action that has just finished has repercussions on the present. There are some cases where we can use both the past simple tense or the present perfect tense. For example, I'm sure I read somewhere that he died. We could also say, I'm sure that I have read somewhere that he died. For sure, there isn't a context here, and it really depends on the situation. When did it happen? A long time ago? Or has it just happened? Another example, they released a new version of this software, or they have released a new version of this software. Another example, they introduced a bonus scheme, or they have introduced a bonus scheme. Here again, we don't have a context, we don't know exactly when it happened. It really depends on the situation. It really depends if these actions have happened recently or if they happened a long time ago. I hope that now the present perfect is clearer for you. Thank you very much for your kind attention and have a very nice day. Remember that in this channel you will find other useful videos to learn English, French and Italian.